my goodness. We're back on the air.
What?
Yes, we're back. Look, we're here.
Like we never left.
It's like we never left. Sully, little Tommy Russ T Nailz. So great to see you all healthy and happy. Welcome here to On the Air. Little Tommy, I haven't seen you in person. I have not seen you in the same room for 7 weeks.
You know, we all communicate with each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the first time I've seen you guys, and we're socially distanced.
Let's do it.
Yes, our mouths are 7.6 feet apart. I'm so happy to hear that. And
Are you waiting on a haircut, or is that hat for a reason? You can give me the hat.
No,
I'll buy the hat.
This is just shameless.
How about a $5 bidder?
This is a shameless plug.
Huh? Sully band hat?
Well, see, because we can't play live.
Yeah. Oh.
And we can't. So we've been doing our living room concerts that Tommy has been so generous with letting us be on there at KUSI.
Wow, thank you.
It's you doing it. I know. and of course, Mike McKinnon Jr. is helping out. I think he likes our music. But yeah, these are
one of a kind.
One of a kind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I'll give them away. You send us an email here. You follow us on the Air SD.
Wow,
send Tommy a message.
Hold on, what's your email?
And we'll send you a hat. I got lots of hats like this. We have hundreds of hats.
It sure is good to be back.
Yeah,
I mean, it feels good. We need to be outside. Yeah. This is awesome.
This shutdown thing, if you're going out, just have one of these ready, just hanging there at all times.
I like your. Can I just talk about your new mask? What have you? Is there another? You know, Russ has a company called Lord Russell's.
Yes.
Where he's invented things like the Tickle Me Cuervo.
That's a good one.
He's also invented the Recorder Hero. You've heard of Drum Hero? But Recorder Hero.
Wow. Got that. Diet Scotch.
The Gundromat. But now this is part of his new line.
This is a Jägermeister scented mask. So when you're out, I know we haven't been able to go to bars and stuff. You just have it on, and it kind of reminds you.
It's almost like you're in a bar
doing the Satanmusen.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Oh, it's
genius.
It is genius, and they are available too with the hat. You know, send the email, and I'll throw.
Are you what kind of? Are you a gator wearer or a mask wearer?
I'm a mask wearer.
Yeah, I'm a gator wearer. I put because I'll just shove it on in the car. You know,
what?
I'll shove it on when I'm in the car.
Yeah,
if I go to the grocery store and then it's just boom.
But it's called
boom.
a what? A gator?
It's called a gator.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I learned that when I was skiing.
I do the bank robbery scarf. You know, like the old bandit in the Western movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a very big show today, and one of my idols, I would argue, is probably Tommy's idol as well. And
you know
Rusty
what?
Nailz.
Everybody.
I owe my career to this dude.
Shotgun Tom Kelly.
Yeah.
In studio. Socially distanced and a safe 10 feet away from me.
One of my first impressions was Shotgun Tom.
You better believe it, baby. I swear. I remember the first time I met him. I was in high school. And I will tell you, he looks and sounds exactly the same today as he ever was, as they say.
I got a better story than that.
Okay.
No.
When I was 10 years old, I stood in line to meet Shotgun Tom.
Did you really?
Yeah, and then 10 years later, I got to work with the dude.
Yeah.
He means everything to me.
Yeah, he's a legend. He's going to be our sole guest today.
And he won't be in a booth like the Corvette Diner. Ever seen him in there? He's spinning records like the old times at Corvette Diner. Oh, my gosh.
I will tell you, I can't wait to
Tom.
tell the story of my history with Shotgun Tom, because it was an historic day for him as well.
I was there.
Do you know what I'm going to tell?
Yes.
I'm going to wait to tell it.
It's not the star in the thing?
Yes, it's the star in the thing.
Dang.
We'll tell you about the star in the thing, because there was big names there. There was little Tommy Sablon, who's, of course, in the Radio Hall of Fame.
Yes, yes.
There was Shotgun Tom Kelly in the Radio Hall of Fame and Hollywood star.
We are so far
there
behind.
was Stevie Wonder
Yeah.
there.
I was standing next to Johnny Mathis.
Johnny Mathis
Wow.
is there. And News Radio 600 Kogo carrying it live on my show.
And
I'll tell you about it.
I know.
I've only told you half of it. It's fantastic.
Did you get over to Pink's for the hot dogs post party?
I was in San Diego in a dark radio studio. I missed the entire thing. And I was pinging Tommy the whole time. It is a long story, we'll tell you. But yeah, big story for you. And also some sad news in the radio world. We'll tell you about that when we come back, because there is an iconic figure in San Diego radio that we all got a chance to work with next to, who's no longer with us. We'll talk about that in just 1 second.
More of a celebration of life, as we like to do.
Yes.
We'll tell you who that is. And then we're going to get right into the history and the essence that is.
I'm so ready.
You want to give us out and Shotgun Tom?
You better believe it, baby. Kind of like that, with a hat, smoking. But he's going to be here to do the real thing.
On the air, Sully, little Tommy Russ T Nailz.
Asking not be the question.
Hey, we're on the air. I'm Sully. That's Rusty Nailz. There's little Tommy there. The Hall of Fame radio announcer, little Tommy.
Thank you.
Wow.
First and only producer in the National Radio Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
So far.
How do you get in there? How do you get in the Radio Hall of Fame? Is that
Someone's here, witnesses your work, and
can I
says,
buy my way in? Is the real question here?
Yeah, who do I make
You
a
get
check?
nominated, and then a bunch of people vote. And you know what? I'm glad you say that, because the guy that we're going to have seated right there, Shotgun Tom Kelly, deserves to be in the National
100%.
Radio Hall of Fame. I've been working on it for years, and he will be in the National Radio Hall of Fame one day.
I'll make sure of it.
We'll get the fan
We'll
page
make it happen.
going. Start the Facebook
Yes.
page,
I agree.
the
Yes.
GoFundMe, the Go, anoint me.
Speaking of iconic radio personalities, it is with great regret that we have to announce that San Diego radio icon Steve West passed away this past week. And I will tell you, as a kid in college that was listening to 91X and the rock of the 80s, listening to this guy, as well as Steve West, I'll tell you, he was as much of San Diego as any single person on radio.
Yes, he's done a lot. And back then, in 1983, when he was on 91X, a little thing called MTV was kind of making it big too.
Right.
I always loved Steve West better than those VJs.
Yeah.
Steve West, when he had guests come in and musical groups come in, they would love being there.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, he taught me how to pronounce blancmange
no,
properly.
no
yeah. Steve West. Now, we worked together at 91X on the air for
The entire time, correct?
for quite a while. Here we are
Yeah, there he is.
outside the studio with one of our producers and the engineer and Billy Bones in back, but he really helped me develop these characters that I would do on the air.
That was the Madness album, was it not?
That was.
That was the album from Madness back in
Reenacted
1981?
that, yeah. And he was an English citizen, and he had that voice,
he
and
did.
I keep doing it, you know. But when we would come across the border, because we actually had to go to Tijuana to work on 91.
Wait a second, stop down. You guys had a studio. You didn't have, there was no radio studio in San Diego.
Microwave.
You had to cross the border every day to go to work.
Right. And we
That's
had to
like
teach him
XXA, because it was out of Mexico.
They started asking for some pepas and
From Steve?
Some pepas, please. Yeah. Well, one day, and when we're going, they're asking up there. So, you live in El Cajon? He goes, El Cajon. I go, no. It's El Cajon, not El Cajon. So we had to teach him in 5 car lengths how to properly say El Cajon. But,
What was he like to work with? Was he
great guy. He loved the craft of DJing, to mix music to beats in clubs and stuff. He would show up with milk crates full of albums, his favorite, his remixes. You know, he started on a barge out in the River Thames doing pirate radio back when Johnny Rotten and all those guys were getting in. So
back when they outlawed rock and roll in England?
pretty much, yeah.
When you hear 91X, when you think of 91X, Steve West is right there on top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm getting chills here.
Yeah,
because
so he after a long battle with cancer, he passed us, and we love you, Steve. Rest easy, my friend. Just being in the business, I came across him, and one time he actually wanted to be a guest on News Radio 600 Kogo. He was a talk radio junkie, and he was a political junkie, believe it or not.
Oh, yes.
And and we got into it more than one time because we were able to have these conversations. But I would bring him on just because I thought it'd just be so weird having Steve West on a talk station talking about politics and such.
And he would talk about getting treatment if you are at a certain age for the type of cancer he had and stuff like that. Real advocate.
It was November 2017. I met him to go over that Movember thing.
Movember,
Yes,
right.
and we met at his
If
favorite.
there was ever anyone who needed a Movember,
Right.
but what was so cool is we met at his favorite coffee shop somewhere downtown, and I got to spend like an hour with him, and I got to say thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Speaking of radio icons, okay, and speaking of Kogo and having strange bedfellows, there was this guy who was radio's probably biggest name in the history of San Diego radio, who got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Jim McGinnis?
No, not Jim McGinnis. Although JM's going to be here. I have a great story about him.
Oh, yeah.
But I had little Tommy's cell phone at the time. And we had not worked together, but we were friends just for being in the business. And I had heard that little Tommy was up in Hollywood with Shotgun Tom for the presentation of the Hollywood Star from the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
And it was a big, big deal because, of course, San Diego's very own favorite son, second favorite, I'm going to say Tony Gwynn's favorite son, second favorite son, Shotgun Tom.
Okay, yeah.
Favoriteest son, Shotgun Tom, is up there, and I'm like blowing Tommy's phone up. I'm on the air. I know this thing's going to happen like at 3:30, and I'm on from 3 to 6, and I'm calling every 5 minutes because I think I can get him. I think I can get him. Sure enough, at the thing where Stevie Wonder sang, where Tommy Sablon's there, where
Johnny Mathis
is there, in a whole cavalcade of stars.
Yeah.
Shotgun Tom gave me an interview live from the thing, and of all the people I've interviewed, it's like one of my favorite moments ever.
That was a big deal, and everyone in San Diego radio was there. From people like Dave Sniff was there, J.R. Rogers was there. We all went to go see Shotgun.
Well, go get him. Where the heck is
Yeah,
he?
you go get Shotgun.
There we go.
That's
it.
I snuck away early and got
If
over.
you can hear on that video that Chris just showed her. There he is. He's on.
Get
Come
on
on.
there. I snuck out of there early, got over to Pink's for the hot dog fest he had after the event.
Yeah, you
Man,
better. Can you say you better believe it when you agree with it?
Wait a minute. We can't do it with the mask on
no
because
mask?
I have nothing. Do you have something?
There he is.
No.
Well, get down.
Shotgun Tom.
We're still safe. You got to be safe. We're all safe.
You're there.
There you go.
All right.
You can take your mask off unless
Can
you
I
feel
take the
safer.
mask off?
It's up to you. If you feel safer in it, it's your.
No, I just wore it as a bit. Well,
There you go.
but it's
Be
very
safe.
serious.
Be
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
May I say something first?
Of course.
Good.
I love you.
Shotgun Tom.
Shotgun.
Hey, let's go to the prom, man.
Listen to me, man.
Every single time I do this show, if you go, every time I feel like I'm at baseball fantasy camp because I was just a listener. Remember, I was just the business guy that didn't go into radio. I fell into radio, and then I now get to work with all the guys I used to listen to.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. It's so great to see you, man.
Well, it's great to see you, Sully. It really is. And you do a great job on
thank
your
you.
financial deal.
Listen to
that,
those
man.
pipes.
Uh-oh.
They just rattle the
They
floor.
do.
Yeah, I
I'm
love
just
that.
talking about, I'm just being by myself.
Can I ask you,
Ask me anything.
when did you know that you wanted to be on the radio for a living?
I can
Well,
answer that.
Yeah, I bet you can.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Shotgun. Tommy's got this.
Interview Tom.
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
No. Well, it was. I didn't know that I was going to be in radio at all, and my mother was a big radio fan, and she listened to KOGO. Can you dig that?
Oh, yeah.
And so this is when I was 10 years old. I came home from school, St. John of the Cross Catholic School.
Yeah, the boy.
And my mom is listening to this guy by the name of Frank Thompson. He's doing a remote in the Kogo mobile unit. And she goes, Tommy, there's a man doing a broadcast, and he's putting people on the air. Why don't you go down and see if he'll put you on the air? I said, okay, Mom. So I got my bike, and I went on down there, and I saw this guy in a trailer, in the Kogo trailer. And I looked through the glass, and I saw 2 turntables. He was talking on the radio, and it was just, it was fantasy to me.
Yeah.
Like a spaceship. It
was
landed.
magical. Yeah, it was magical.
Yeah.
So anyway, he sees me, this 10-year-old kid, gawking through the window, and he goes, this is Frank Thompson on KOGO. We have a young man here standing looking through the window here. What's your name? Come on in, young man. So I went in there, and he says, what's your name? I said, well, I'm Tom. What school do you go to, Tom? St. John of the Cross Catholic School. Well, listen, Tom, I've got 4 tickets to see the LA T-Birds when they come to Westgate Park. Congratulations,
The
school.
roller derby ticket.
Yeah. My first words on radio were on Kogo Radio. Now,
That's it.
That's so cool.
is that the story you were going to tell, Tom?
I knew that story.
Oh, yeah.
I knew that story.
They told that story at the ceremony for the Star.
Wow.
But when I was a kid, Shotgun, I'm 10 years old, 1974. You were bigger than life. At that very moment, you could have ran for mayor and won. You could have tried out for a Charger quarterback, and you would have made the team.
now you're going too
But what I'm saying is, in 1974, little kids stood in line to meet you.
Yeah, baby.
How did that feel back then?
It felt great, and I liked that they did that. It was a combination of being on television and doing a kids show, and then being on radio, KCBQ at the time,
Yeah.
74.
Plus, you like doing that.
I do.
You just light up when you're around people who like you. You like them back. You're signing everything they bring. You're talking to them. You're hugging them.
Well, that's because Shotgun Tom Kelly is Shotgun Tom Kelly.
Well, yeah.
Nobody does it better. Stay right there because we're going to get into the stories on how he started.
Yes.
Also, I think my job is done with rejoining the program and doing the intros. I think we have the best rejoin guy in the planet.
Yes.
Shotgun Tom Kelly on the air. Stay right.
Now's a good time. You want to pick that phone up, give me a call at 570-1776. I'll be playing your favorites right here on KFMB. How about the shotgun right now, baby? Of course. Ladies and gentlemen, for historical reasons only, Junior Walker and the All-Stars on KFMB Radio. Yow.
That's Boss Jockin', man. In the booth. On the air, Sully, little Tommy Russ T Nailz. I don't even want to. You need to do our announcing from here too far.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I'd be glad to.
Going forward.
Let's practice. Welcome back to On the Air with.
So you're known for the blast, right? The shot.
Yeah, you better believe it, baby.
Oh, wow. When did that start?
Yeah, how did that start?
That started early on in my career. I was at a radio station in Ventura, and I was trying to talk up to the vocal, and when I ran out of stuff to say, I just go.
That's called hitting the post.
I gotta tell you, out of all the stuff, people remember that more. Because I did that at KCBQ for many, many years, at B100, at KFMB that we just saw.
Yeah.
And every time I meet somebody, they go, Shotgun Tom, they cry like you did.
And they spit on you.
Yeah.
Because that's tough to do without a little corona flying out of your mouth.
But it's amazing, and a simple little sound really radiates with people.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean?
That and the hat, man. That hat's been
Oh,
around.
the hat, yeah, that's true.
Where'd the hat come from?
The
Who
hat?
in the hell would you see Smokey the Bear and go, I
That's
want
right.
that?
No, he saw Smokey and the Bandit is what he
In
saw.
fact, I got a still of me, 8 years old, me and Smokey the Bear. Oh, wow. Yes, in the Redwoods. And I had a...
the real bear, probably.
Yeah. Well, no.
There he is.
It was the... Yeah, there it is. You haven't seen that, have you?
No,
Oh, yeah, I pulled that out of mothballs, baby.
What a goof.
But I wanted to. I love the Forest Rangers, and I love their hat, and I made the little dents and stood next to Smokey the Bear. So actually, it stems from my childhood. Go.
And in the 80s, didn't you bring this to the White House and give it to a president?
I most certainly did.
What?
And how did that happen?
That was I was the MC for the presidential rally, and my congressman at the time, Duncan Hunter Sr., said, you ought to give your hat to the president. I'll arrange it. So he did. So we're waiting outside. Yeah, we're waiting outside the Oval Office in the West Wing. And we go in the Oval Office through that thick, seamless door. Sure. And the president is behind the Resolute, the desk. He gets up from the Resolute, he walks over to the shelf bookcase, and he's been briefed. He knows my name, and he goes, well, Shotgun, I understand that you were the MC and kept the people entertained while they're waiting for me in San Diego. And I say, yes, Mr. President, I did. And I bring you my trademark Ranger hat, and I hope you'll put it on. He goes, well... And he put it on, and that was the White
I'm
House.
so glad you told that
White House
story. And there it is. There it is.
Wow.
Because if Russ T Nailz told that story, you'd think the president was Clint Eastwood at that.
Sometimes the voice just goes all askew, and I don't know who I'm doing. I don't know.
Shotgun Tom Kelly is with us. What was your first radio job? What was the first paying gig? The station name of at the time, was it in San Diego?
Yes, it was.
Where was it?
The Q. It was KPRI.
No kidding.
Back in 1966, they were playing Frank Sinatra music, Sergio Mendes in the Brazil '66, Tony Bennett, and I was doing Sunday mornings, and they had a 6-hour block, and I got to play the jazz, and then I got to go in and do a kids radio show, and that was my first kids show, but it was on radio, and I was a kid. I was 16 years old.
That's before they went all
before
Capri by
they
the
went
sea
underground,
and
way before that.
Timothy Leary and those kind of people hanging out there. Yeah,
Gabriel Wisdom. Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't understand about radio is that's how it's. I have taught both of my grown daughters this. It's a good lesson about business is how radio starts, because just being there usually gets you the gig.
That's right.
Showing up. I mean, look at, because there's a lot of talented people that just have not shown up, and then there's the guy that's, I remember my first break from KSDO was the fact that Roger Hitchcock got sick, and I was on from 12 to 3, and he was on from 3 to 6 on another station. I just happened to be there.
Yeah.
And that started, it went from a business reporter to a talk radio career. It's got to be the same thing when you go from a Sunday show doing that. There had to have been an opportunity that was a tipping point.
Yes,
correct?
well, they found out. See, I'd been hanging around radio guys. Jim Price, Sonny Jim Price, gave me my first job as a intern at KDEO, Radio KDEO.
Radio KDEO.
Right out in El Cajon. And so I remember I was hanging around with Ray Willis, some of the jocks, Chuck Cooper, great jock on KDEO, and Jim Price was the PD.
Program director.
Yeah. So anyway, he said, I was a 13-year-old kid at the time, and he said, I've got a new record that I want to add, and could you I'd like a teenager's opinion on it, because nobody wants to add it, but if I put it on Radio KDEO, it'll be the first station in the country to add this song. So would you listen to it with me? What? Well, Mr. Price, yes. I was trying to be very good. And so I went in his office, and he put the record on, and I go, gee, I really like it. And I really did.
Yeah.
And that record was the Mamas and the Papas,
No kidding.
California Dreamin'.
No kidding.
Oh, wow.
And it went national and made him very famous.
And you've also debuted another record here in San Diego. Okay, I don't want to say the title of the song.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the title of the song, but
That's a great story.
Can you tell us how that happened? Because that's huge.
Yeah, that was huge.
So what station were you at, and what happened?
And had your voice changed at that time?
I think it's just the same. I just let my voice fly.
Yeah.
Remember when KCBQ was that station? I mean, they would call it album rock now. I mean, they would call it.
At that time, they were very sought after around the country because stations were changing their last call letter to the Q. There was a WMAQ in Miami, and they thought the Q, because everything was a Q.
I queued in my car.
That's right.
Yeah, it was an accident.
Even Rod
Stewart looked it up.
Rod Stewart, Maggie May. I steal my daddy's Q.
That's right. Well, as a matter of fact, we broke that record at KCBQ. I remember the guy didn't want to. The record guy came in, and Rod hated that song. And didn't want that played. It was a B-side, and my program director Buzz Bennett goes, "Oh wow, man, I'd like to turn over here the B-side, because the A-side was Reason to Believe.
Right.
Yeah. That's the one they wanted to push." And Buzz goes, "Oh man, I want to listen to the B-side." And the guy, no, Rod Stewart hates it. No. Ron Wood did it was terrible. And he said, "Well, I'm going to listen to it, man." So he listened to it, and he goes, "Wow, man, I like the B-side better than the A-side. So I'm going to create a contest around it. Count the number of times KCBQ plays Maggie May and win $10,000.
Yeah. Wow.
So we got it. Now, the big song that you introed.
Oh, yeah.
The big oops on the air.
Yeah, the big song that I introed, it was really
It's
big.
the greatest story of all time, because we have all done this on a live deal, either reading an endorsement copy or introducing a guest or playing a song.
At the wrong speed. I've done that with a big disc.
So you were chosen to debut what song?
It was a real big deal. You want to tell
tell the story.
I'll capsulize it because we're running out of time.
Yeah, land the plane.
Yeah. So here we go. KHJ would always get the exclusives for the Beatles and for any record. Yeah. If it went on KHJ, that was the deal. But Buzz Bennett decided to make a deal with Apple Records. When John Lennon came out with his new record, we wanted to be the first station in the country to play it, and then the next day it was KHJ. So we created a whole thing where we had the acetate flown down on PSA Airlines, met at the airport with an armored truck, motorcycle escort, out to Santee where the station was. And so they brought the acetate in, and an acetate only has about 12 plays. Yeah. So it's very, very soft. So they wanted to get that on cart, which is a tape.
Yeah, sure.
So they brought it in the production room, got it on cart, and Rich Brother Robin, I remember this, he wrote on just hand wrote, because now we got TV cameras. The whole thing is,
It's a big deal.
It is. And I'm getting a little nervous because I see the cameras on the other side of the glass.
Yeah, right.
And so anyway, my intern brings it into me, and I put the cart in the machine, and I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I've got the brand new song by John Lennon. We've been talking about it here on KCBQ for a whole month. We were going to be the first station in the world to play the brand new John Lennon song. And right now on the Shotgun Tom Kelly Show, here it is, that brand new John Lennon song. And I look down to the cart, Imogene. It was Imagine.
Imogene. I like Imogene better, actually. It sounds like a love song about some girl named Imogene. All right,
You know,
on the air.
Jeff and Jer love to tell that story. I'll watch the guy who tells it the best. Leitner loves it.
On the air, Sully, little Tommy Russ T Nailz, and the inimitable Shotgun.
You're watching On the Air with Sully, Little Tommy, and Russ T Nailz on KUSI.
Wow. We're going to use that from now on.
For the rest of our
Okay, first of all,
Was that a little bit too announced or what?
no.
Yeah, you want to bring it down a notch, get a little more
Like
moody
it
and
did
something like
on
a.
1,000
Like
Ways
in a
to Die.
word.
Oh, that's right. You were the voice of 1,000 ways.
And America's Most Wanted.
Oh, I hate that.
Were you really American?
To
I
date,
knew
you have been responsible for 951 captures. This
That's
is America's
right.
Most Wanted with host John Walsh.
What?
Now, let's join the manhunt. Here's John Walsh. Yeah, that's me.
And 1,000 Ways to Die is a great show.
Oh, my goodness. That was, the younger kids like that one.
Oh, yeah.
Meet Chester and Lester, two drug addict speed freaks just looking to get high. So they decide to rob a small-time magician
killer.
who was looking for his killer act.
Yeah, yeah.
They stole some white powder. They snorted it, but what they didn't realize, it was G4. It gelled in their sinuses, and they suffocated to death on 1,000 Ways to Die.
I hope we have some pictures to run over that,
Yeah,
too. That's
exactly.
great.
Man, I did that show. It was amazing what people do to themselves to...
That's your voice is your tool, man. That's
It is.
great.
Well, when I started on KUSI, I was the announcer.
Right.
I didn't start on camera.
No.
I was the announcer for KUSI.
You did a lot of stuff.
And then
Okay.
Mike McKinnon, senior, came up to me and says, "Hey, I bought a cartoon package, and I know you did that kid show, Words Are Poppin', but, would you like to do something with me?" And I said, "Sure, if you got some extra dough." And he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next thing you know.
So anyway, we put up a black curtain and a couple of toys behind that. That was our set.
There it is.
Yeah, there. Oh no, that was the improved KUSI set.
Yeah, we spent some money on that back then.
Well, that was KUSI Kids Club, the original Kids Club.
Yeah, but I owe a big debt of thanks to Mike McKinnon. I mean, I did that show for 12 years.
Yeah. Right.
And it really gave me a television.
Sure.
Well, it was on for
ID.
about 14 years. Who replaced you?
Well, now you were off and on.
Wow. Did you do that show?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure he did.
Know that?
Oh, we gotta bring some funny into the show.
Yeah,
That was
baby.
Rusty Nailz.
Did you know that you were?
But I don't like kids, so I got out. I got out of that.
You did so many things. Words of Poppin'. That's when I loved you.
Yeah.
Disco 10.
Disco 10 is I came into Disco 10. I actually was on Disco 10.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, heck yeah. Valhalla High School, class of 78.
That's right.
I was in Disco 10. And I got so much camera time. I had no idea why. It was just so
you're a
super,
good-looking guy.
Super
There it
lucky.
is, man.
Oh yeah, I had the full. What's the kid's name from high school? Zac Efron. I was breaking right and left.
Oh,
Perfect
yeah.
feathered hair.
Yeah.
It's back in the days of England Dan and John Ford Coley.
Sure.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
In fact, I did Disco 10 when I was at KCBQ.
Right.
I did The Words of Poppin' was at KCBQ. And that was a great show. I won 2 Emmy Awards for that show.
Good for you.
And that was a nationally syndicated show.
And there's Words of Pop in there.
Yeah, there it is, right there.
Yeah.
Man, our show is not long enough to cover everything you've done in the city, man. The muscular dystrophy telethon, for
That's
God's
right.
sake.
Yeah,
You did
with
it more
Jerry
than
Lewis.
Jerry did it.
Over 40 years working with Jerry Lewis
my
and Casey Kasem. up in Los Angeles.
You do a great Casey Kasem impression too.
Oh, I don't do it as well as somebody else does.
It's you, baby.
He's fantastic.
You were on
Tommy.
KGB. You were on B100. I worked with you at KBS 95.
That's right.
Where are you now?
I'm on Sirius XM.
Nice.
That's right.
On the 60s channel.
What's XM?
Channel 6. It's Sirius XM, 60s on 6. I'm on from 4 in the afternoon to 9 o'clock at night Pacific, except Wednesday.
I listen all the time, and that is so perfect.
Shotgun Tom Kelly, K-Earth 101.
We rolled in on what looked like a small town.
Yeah.
That had it was shotgun. It was called Gundoville, by the way. Is
that what he calls it?
Gundoville.
Irwood.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know, or they didn't until they saw that on TV, but they didn't know that is a real passion of yours.
It is.
Miniature trains.
You have to do something else besides radio and television.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
So I got my dad was a railroad engineer on the Santa Fe. And when I was a kid, he took me all around the yard on the 2357. There's a shot of him right there. And then, of course, I have a model of the 2357. There's my dad.
John G. Irwin Sr.
Oh, yeah.
And then I have a model of the 2357 on my home layout.
What gauge is that?
HO.
Extra small.
And I'm also a member of the Balboa Park San Diego Model Railroad Club.
That's the coolest place.
I run trains every Wednesday when I'm not on Sirius XM.
Run them.
Well, yeah, we run trains down there when it's open.
Really?
The park is there's my model.
That's it.
Of the 2357.
Now, did you build that?
Oh no, I bought it.
You buy it, and then you assemble the little land.
No, I didn't. I'm kind of a phony model railroader. You see,
Poser.
Really, I know.
Then you directed it and produced it.
Yeah.
But
I bought it. There's a company up in Los Angeles, Lloyd and Betsy Klusner, Lloyd's Layouts.
Right.
And I told them what I wanted. I wanted it in a downtown area, in an industrial area. I wanted a radio and television station, AM, FM, and TV. And then Fred Swift over at KUSI made me a beautiful tower for my mountain. Wow. And so between Fred and Lloyd and Betsy, I've got a beautiful layout. There it is. Yeah. Oh,
Where is it?
Hey, look up on the wall there.
So I have to talk
I got
about
a picture of Rusty Nailz.
I want to say, so this is Shotgun's garage,
yes,
correct? And Shotgun's garage in the business is legendary for
parties,
old folklore and tales of radio days gone by, because on that wall is every radio legend. Except for me and Tommy.
Well, you can be on there too.
You have to come out and visit.
But the point is that talk about your epic garage soirees and get together.
Well, we I have a pool table, and that's what my layout is. It goes up in the ceiling.
Yeah.
And beautifully done by Lloyd and Betsy of Lloyd's Layouts.
There's your free plug.
Thank you very much.
But before you start that, this was the backdrop for his fake Tonight Show set. Where he baby.
Well, see, before the trains, I got into a hobby. I love hobbies. I built a Tonight Show set in my garage. And I did.
Of course you did.
Yeah. I did 26 Tonight Shows.
I ran audio for one.
Yes, you did, and Rusty Nailz. And I have the Johnny Carson. It was a Johnny Carson Tonight Show too.
The curtain's still there.
You see him. You see him there. And I remember when I was visiting the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
I yelled out, and Freddie DeCordova said, "Mr. Carson does not like anybody yelling out,
heckling."
No. So I saw a little silent window.
Yeah.
And I yelled out,
Better believe it, baby.
You better believe it, baby. Is that the name of it?
Well,
It is now.
you better believe it,
I
baby.
just heard that guy, and you better name it.
I would think so. Let's not get him.
Can I ask you, the illustrations on the wall of everybody from Rusty Nailz to Jeff Prescott to Jim McGinnis, who is the artist on that?
okay, a friend of mine, John Fuel, his brother is an artist and really a good artist.
Yeah.
So basically, anybody who comes to the pool hall regularly, not just once or twice, you got to be there regularly.
You gotta be
like
there.
Rusty, and so
There's Russ.
there he is. Look at that.
next to Chris Carmichael.
Chris Carmel next, and there's Scotty Rice there.
That's right.
Yeah. So Scotty's an engineer at KSDS. But anyway,
I remember that hat, Nailz.
I still got it. It's a flattering painting too.
well, anyway, this artist takes we take a snap.
We'll beep that.
fix
Gunda.
it.
He's a professional announcer.
That's the best part.
We take a snapshot and send it to this guy.
Yeah.
And he goes ahead. Oh, man.
It could, something like that could not happen to a better guest, the most seasoned radio personality in the history, going from KCBQ to B100 to K-Earth 101 to Sirius 60s on 6.
Yeah.
And the first time in the history of this
it's on
studio.
your show.
And we just lost the license, I see here.
I'm in trouble now.
We'll tell the mechanic.
We've got much more of Shotgun Tom Kelly. That's maybe the greatest moment on San Diego radio television history. On the air, Sully, Russ T Nailz, Tommy, Shotgun Tom, stand by.
Clear the room, kids.
We're having some fun now. I'm a kiddie show. Hi, kids. Oh, God. Here we go, Steve.
It is truly my honor to be here to celebrate you, Shotgun, your 40 years, air personality, and being on the radio. No, it's truly an honor, and the thing about it is, it's always wonderful to meet people who not only inspire you from afar, but to meet someone who has a great spirit and on and off stage, on the radio and off the radio. So truly it is my joy to have come today to say some good things about you, Tom Kelly.
Wow, look at that. Unbelievable. Stevie Wonder at the Hollywood Star ceremony. That, as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, we were in the middle of doing the Recall Bob Filner political thing over on Kogo, and there was so much political stuff going on, much like the stories now in the news. I mean, it was a rich talk radio environment. But all I cared about, and Tommy can attest to this, I started blowing up his phone 3 days before. You're going? You gotta get. I gotta scoop this, and from the Hollywood Walk of Fame where your star is, I got to interview. It was honestly, I tell this story all the time. It was one of my best moments.
Yeah, they want to interview. Sully wants to interview, man. They pulled me away, and I went on the.
Wait a minute,
I love it.
But how did that feel to you? Because in the audience were all your friends from radio. I mean, I remember Dave Sniff was there.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
John Fuel was there.
Yes.
Boy with glasses, Jeff Williams was there.
Yes.
How did that feel when you were getting a star?
Well, and also my family was there. My relatives came down from San Francisco. My wife Linda and my daughter Melanie and my son Nick, they were there. I mean, it just was a beautiful thing. And so there was so many facets. And, it was about me, but I think you were there and you felt it was about me, but it was like a reunion with all of your friends. I mean, you saw guys, and you saw ladies that you hadn't seen for a while, so you were kind of...
And not just a small group, it took over that whole corner, and then the after party we had to sneak into because so many...
You were very good. I'm so glad that you came in, man.
Clipboard and a little...
Clipboard and a wave will get you any door.
You know who tried to get in and couldn't? Ken Kramer tried to get in.
Oh,
and they turned him away. I love Ken Kramer.
Yeah, this should be an about San Diego story then.
You should be about San Diego.
Well, no, he's already done it.
So how did it feel?
It felt great. I was kind of hypnotized. People are saying,
you were
"Hey,
glowing.
Shotgun, I'm over here." Because something like that to happen to you is.
How do you hold it together? So I would be, I watch a Hallmark commercial and I'm tearing up.
I have a secret.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Ken Levine, scriptwriter for MASH, and The Jeffersons, and many television shows, The Simpsons. I said, listen, I don't want to get up there on the podium and go habba. Would you write some funny stuff for me? And he said, yeah.
Nice.
So he wrote this. What I read from the podium was Ken Levine's words.
Yeah.
And, one of the things I remember, he said, my kids said, Dad, one of these days you're going to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And I thought that was great, but, oh, God bless him. That conversation just was last week. Channel 7, you know, he wrote in sound bites because when you're in newscasts, they want just sound bites. They don't want long stories.
Now, if I recall correctly, Stevie Wonder sang.
Yes, he did.
Didn't he really? Do we have that footage, Chris?
What do we do? Do a Stevie Wonder song?
Yeah, I think we should.
1, 2, la 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 la. Shotgun Tom Kelly.
Did he just hear that was?
No. Stevie's. I've known him for about 15, 16 years, but come to the radio station, and we had a rapport, you know. And his brother Milton Hardaway is just a great guy.
Well, you were living up in L.A. doing radio up there. Had the great apartment at the top of
Park La Brea across from CBS television.
Can I? So all of us here have been in the same room as greatness, and obviously you're one of those people. But also you've had a chance to interview some big names, and we ask this of almost every guest. What do you think? Were you ever starstruck to the point where you said, "I can't believe I'm sitting next to this person," or was it always they're always normal people in the room?
No, you know, I remember Rodney Dangerfield. I interviewed him. You know, no respect. You know, what a great guy he was. Elton John.
Wow.
Sir Elton.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
That's a big one.
You know, I was talk about fear, because you know Elton is
we know.
Well, he's kind of moody. He's kind of moody.
Okay.
And so the Howard Stern people were going to interview him first, right?
Yeah.
And they were right before me at Tower Records on Sunset Boulevard. And so anyway, they turned to me and said, "Hey, listen, Shotgun, why don't you go before us? Because after we interview him, he ain't going to want to talk to anybody else."
Yeah.
Because, you know, they ask him embarrassing questions.
Yeah, they do.
So I went and I did my thing for K-Earth, and he couldn't have been nicer. He was wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so, I thought he was going to be very sensitive. And, well, you know, and then the Stern people came, and I said, I got to hang around for this.
Yeah, how'd that
And they
go?
asked him some embarrassing questions, and he just went along with it.
Oh,
No
good.
kidding.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, they couldn't use any of it because it was totally okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Shotgun, you're my hero. You're my idol. Who are yours?
Oh, I got to tell you, the Wolf Man Jack, man. And I got to be friends with him, Bob Smith.
You used to carry a cigarette that you smoked with him, right?
Well, yeah, that happened.
Hey, I did
but
that
I didn't
with
smoke
Cheech and Chong. I got a similar thing going, but that's another story. Go ahead.
Wolf and I have been friends for many, many years before he passed. And also, I didn't get to, as a matter of fact, I only met him 2 or 3 times, but he was my hero, the real Don Steele.
Yeah. Wow.
And so when he passed, Mike Phillips, who was the program director at K-Earth, CBS Radio in Los Angeles, said, "We'd like you to succeed the real Don Steele, one of my radio heroes."
What?
Yeah, right.
And I did it, and I'm sitting in his chair.
Wow.
Yeah.
At K-Earth.
At K-Earth,
Yeah.
And man, I was scared to death. I'll tell you, man. I mean, that's a big radio station, and that's a big talent. And little old me to succeed him was a big deal.
When you were spinning records, and it was spinning records at the time.
Yeah.
At that time, what was it like when record companies would come visit you? Because it's a lot different these days in a digital world. But you would have record reps come.
Oh, sure.
And it was almost like a wine tasting, correct?
It was great. Well, they'd take you out to dinner.
Yeah.
Sure.
They'd buy you gifts and stuff like. Not payola. This wasn't payola because I wasn't the program director.
Right. Program director.
There's where the payola went.
I could just take the lunches and of course they bring the artist by.
Yeah.
Boss Gags and
cool.
It was great. You know, a lot of people came by the station.
Was there ever anything that you know, much like the Maggie May story, that you didn't expect to take off and took off, or vice versa, that they thought was going to take off and the thing was just a
Well, I think the Rod Stewart thing was,
sure.
You know, they wanted Reason to Believe to be the hit, and Buzz Bennett said, "I like the B-side," and the B-side was Maggie May, and that was the big hit.
At a small station out of Santee's, shaping music across the country.
Yeah,
Think
well,
about
it was
that.
small.
Well, but if you look at
Signal-wise, huge.
Well, it's huge,
Yeah,
but I'm
well,
talking. But if you think in terms of the building out there, it's so interesting how much went on in that building.
Oh, yeah. Well, KCBQ was monumental. And speaking about monuments,
there's a monument there.
There's a monument that we put up to KCBQ, and it has all the guys' names etched in granite.
Wow.
Some of my heroes and newsmen and everything. So if you go on Mission Gorge Road.
Right in front of Lowe's, isn't it?
Well, actually in front of In-N-Out. In-N-Out Burger.
But that was the first theater of the mind, if you think about it, because they have big entertainment complexes now that we work at,
nice.
and this place was as big of a broadcasting giant in this country as anyone. But it wasn't a big giant media complex. It was a small place out in Santee. But you guys covered half of the earth, if you consider how that works.
Well, I mean, that was the station I used to listen to when I was a kid. I used to stay at the corner of 7th and Ash. That's where the studios were in the 60s, and I used to look up at those guys and go, wow, one of these days I'd like to do that. And then I actually got to do it. They moved the board that they were running on 7th and Ash, and they moved that out to Santee, and I actually got to operate.
You know what? The interesting part of that thing is I remember. Everybody remembers their first radio moment, not as a professional, but listening to the radio. And I remember smuggling the transistor radio, and I didn't have an earpiece, under my pillow, listening to KCBQ, under my pillow, as a kid growing up in University City, and going to bed at night listening to all that music. And, of course, that was the station that you went to.
Well, there were 3 rockers in San Diego in the 60s.
Right.
KCBQ, Boss Radio 136 KGB, these are AM, and then Radio KDO out in El Cajon.
That's exactly right. Shotgun, it has been an unbelievable trip.
Wow, what a trip.
Hey, man,
I want to do a whole other show with you, man, because I'll tell you what, it's an honor, and it always has been an honor. Thank you so much. Shotgun Tom Kelly.
Yes.
Thanks for having me. You better believe it, baby.
We should do something like The Last Dance. Let's go back and go back.
You better believe it, baby.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I just spit on my computer now.
Love you, Shotgun. Love you.
Love you too, little Tommy.
Can't wait till you to come back in, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Rusty Nailz.
Can I have the hat?
Yeah,
On the air.
Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
I have a hat for each one of you. As
It's
parting
even getting
gifts.
better as we go along.
Yes, I give parting gifts.
All right. Unbelievable.